There was an old house at the end of the street, surrounded by overgrown weeds and vines. Its windows were boarded up, and the roof was caving in. The townspeople whispered that the house was haunted, that strange things happened within its walls. One moonlit night, a group of adventurous teenagers gathered at the edge of the street. They had heard the rumors and legends about the old house, and their curiosity got the better of them. They formed a pact to explore the eerie residence, despite the warnings from their parents and the eerie aura surrounding the place. Heart-pounding with excitement and trepidation, they sneaked past the fence and approached the decaying front door. It groaned open reluctantly, as if protesting their intrusion. The stale air hit their faces, carrying a scent of dust and abandonment. The first thing they noticed upon entering was the oppressive silence. It was as if the very walls held their breath and the air was devoid of life. With trembling hands, they switched on their flashlights, casting flickering beams of light into the darkness. The interior of the house revealed itself in fragments. A dilapidated staircase leading to the upper floors, cobwebs stretching like delicate tapestries, and faded wallpaper peeling off the walls. The furniture, covered in a thick layer of dust, stood frozen in time, as if waiting for its long-lost occupants to return. As they cautiously explored room after room, the atmosphere grew increasingly eerie. They could hear distant whispers, faint murmurs that sent shivers down their spines. It was as if the house was whispering secrets that had been buried within its decaying walls for years. Nervous laughter filled the air, an attempt to quell the mounting tension. But then they heard it, the distinct sound of footsteps echoing from somewhere deep within the house. Each footfall reverberated through the floorboards, growing louder and more menacing with every passing second. The group huddled together, their flashlights trembling in their hands. They followed the source of the sound, their heartbeats echoing in their ears. The footsteps led them to a narrow hallway where an old portrait hung crookedly on the wall. With bated breath, they stared at the painting, an image of a family from a bygone era. The eyes of the figures in the portrait seemed to follow them, filled with a haunting sadness. Suddenly, the eyes of the youngest child in the painting seemed to glimmer with a faint light, as if coming alive for a fleeting moment. Startled and unnerved, one of the teenagers let out a blood-curdling scream. They pointed to the end of the hallway where a shadowy figure stood, swaying back and forth. It was a specter, a ghostly presence that seemed to defy the laws of the living. The group froze, paralyzed by fear and disbelief. The apparition vanished as quickly as it had appeared, leaving behind an unsettling silence that hung heavily in the air. They exchanged terrified glances, realizing that they were not alone in the house. Panic gripped them, and they made a frantic dash for the front door, their hearts pounding in their chests. But when they reached it, it refused to open, as if mocking their attempt to escape. They were trapped within the haunted house, at the mercy of the supernatural forces that lurked within its ancient walls. As the realization of their entrapment sank in, a chill crept through the air, seeping into their bones. The group huddled together near the locked front door, their wide-eyed gazes scanning the dimly lit room for an alternate escape route. The house seemed to come alive with an otherworldly presence. Muffled whispers echoed through the hallways, growing louder and more distinct with each passing moment. The teenagers strained their ears, trying to decipher the unintelligible words that floated through the air. Fear etched deep lines on their faces as they exchanged nervous glances. With trembling hands, they decided to explore the house further, hoping to find a way out or uncover the secret that bound this place in darkness. They ventured deeper into the labyrinthine corridors, their flashlights guiding their path through the gloom. The whispers seemed to follow them, a haunting chorus that toyed with their sanity. The walls appeared to vibrate with suppressed energy, the ancient timbers groaning under the weight of unseen forces. In one room, they stumbled upon an old diary, its yellowed pages filled with faded ink. Dust particles danced in the beams of their flashlights as they opened the diary and began reading the accounts of a family that once called this house their home. The diary entries spoke of inexplicable events, A child plagued by night terrors, furniture moving on its own accord, and unsettling apparitions that wandered the halls. The family's fear and desperation were palpable in their words, leaving an indelible mark on the teenagers' already frayed nerves. As they delved deeper into the diary, a sense of foreboding intensified. The entries hinted at a tragic incident that had befallen the family, an event that had left a scar on the very fabric of the house. It seemed as though the spirits that now haunted the residence were restless, seeking resolution for the unspeakable sorrow that had consumed them. A sudden gust of wind blew through the room, extinguishing their flashlights and plunging them into darkness. Panic ensued as they fumbled to relight their sources of illumination, their hands trembling with a mix of fear and urgency. When the lights finally flickered back to life, they found themselves in a different room altogether. Confusion and disorientation washed over them, as if the very structure of the house had shifted around them. They realized they were being manipulated, played like pawns in a wicked game orchestrated by the unseen forces within the walls. The whispers grew louder, resonating with malevolence. Shadows danced along the walls, taking sinister shapes that seemed to reach out for them. With pounding hearts, they clung to each other, desperate for a glimmer of hope amid the encroaching darkness. In the distance, they heard a mournful wail, a chilling cry that echoed through the house. It was a sound that pierced their souls, evoking a profound sadness and despair. It was the anguished voice of a tormented spirit, longing for release from the shackles of the past. As the teenagers braced themselves for what lay ahead, they knew that they had inadvertently awakened something within the old house. Something restless, vengeful, and determined to ensure that they would never escape its clutches. Trapped within the shifting maze of the haunted house, the teenagers felt the weight of their predicament press upon them. With trepidation, they forged ahead, their senses heightened by the looming presence that seemed to grow more powerful with each passing moment. In their relentless pursuit of escape, they stumbled upon a room bathed in an ethereal glow. The air was heavy with an otherworldly energy, and they could sense that something significant awaited them within. As they cautiously entered the room, their breath caught in their throats. The walls were adorned with faded photographs and portraits, fragments of a forgotten past. The images depicted the family that had once inhabited the house, frozen in time and haunted by sadness. A sense of empathy washed over the teenagers as they gazed at the captured memories. The family's faces wore expressions of both joy and sorrow, their eyes reflecting the weight of the tragedies that had befallen them. It was clear that their spirits lingered, tethered to the house by unfinished business. In the corner of the room, they discovered a worn-out chest. It beckoned to them, as if holding the key to unraveling the secrets that bound the house and its restless inhabitants. With trembling hands, they opened it, revealing a collection of personal mementos and letters, preserved despite the passage of time. As they delved into the contents of the chest, the letters unveiled a tragic tale of lost love, betrayal, and heartache. It became apparent that the spirit haunting the house was that of a broken-hearted lover whose anguish had seeped into every nook and cranny. The more they learned about the family's history, the clearer the picture became. The house had once been a sanctuary, a place filled with love and happiness. However, a series of unfortunate events had shattered their lives, leaving behind a legacy of sorrow and torment. With a newfound determination, the teenagers resolved to help the trapped spirits find peace. They believed that by uncovering the truth and resolving the lingering pain, they could break the cycle of darkness that had consumed the house. Guided by the letters and clues they had discovered, they embarked on a quest to right the wrongs of the past. They retraced the steps of the family, piecing together the fragments of their shattered lives. As they ventured deeper into the house, they encountered manifestations of the spirits, caught in a perpetual loop of their final moments. They witnessed the heart-wrenching scenes of a family torn apart by tragedy, their anguish echoing through the hallways. With each revelation, the house seemed to respond, the paranormal activity intensifying. Objects moved of their own accord. Spectral figures appeared and disappeared, and a sense of unseen eyes watching their every move hung heavy in the air. The teenagers pressed on, determined to bring closure to the tormented spirits. Their empathy and determination grew stronger with each step, fueled by the belief that their actions could release the trapped souls from their eternal suffering. Little did they know, however, that their search for resolution would awaken a darkness far more sinister than they could have imagined. The house, sensing their interference, fought back with a malevolence that threatened to consume them all. As the teenagers delved deeper into their quest for resolution, the malevolent presence within the house grew increasingly agitated. The once subtle paranormal occurrences escalated into violent manifestations, reflecting the wrath of an entity disturbed by their meddling. They found themselves in a room where a thick, suffocating fog enveloped their senses, obscuring their vision. Whispers of malice reverberated through the mist, as if twisted voices from the netherworld sought to dissuade them from their mission. Undeterred, they pressed on, their determination unwavering. They knew they had come too far to turn back now, risking not only their own safety, but the very balance between the living and the dead. Their search led them to a hidden chamber deep within the bowels of the house. There, they discovered a series of arcane symbols etched upon the walls. A ritualistic chamber that hinted at dark magic practiced within its confines. The room pulsed with an eerie energy, amplifying the malevolence that pervaded the house. As they explored further, they stumbled upon a weathered tome, a grimoire that held the secrets of the dark arts. It detailed rituals that could bind souls to objects and curse the living. In their desperation to uncover the truth and put the tormented spirits to rest, one of the teenagers, consumed by a mixture of fear and misguided curiosity, began to experiment with the forbidden knowledge within the grimoire. Unbeknownst to them, their actions unleashed an even greater evil. The malevolent entity, fueled by the breach of sacred rituals, seized the opportunity to manifest in a physical form. An entity born from darkness and driven by an insatiable hunger for power. The house itself seemed to come alive, its structure twisting and contorting as it became a grotesque extension of the entity's will. Rooms transformed into nightmarish labyrinths, shifting and trapping the teenagers within their macabre embrace. Terrifying apparitions appeared at every turn, lashing out with malicious intent. The once haunting whispers turned into shrill screams that echoed throughout the house, driving the teenagers to the brink of madness. Desperation consumed them as they fought against the malevolent force, their determination to save the trapped spirits eclipsed by the immediate threat they faced. Their unity wavered, and doubts clouded their minds as they grappled with the consequences of their actions. But even in the face of overwhelming darkness, a glimmer of hope remained. The purity of their intentions, their empathy for the spirits that had suffered, ignited a spark of light within the abyss. It was a beacon of resilience, a reminder that redemption and salvation were within reach, no matter how dire the circumstances. With newfound resolve, the teenagers rallied together, vowing to confront the malevolent entity head-on. They knew that their only chance of survival, and the liberation of the trapped spirits, lay in facing the embodiment of evil that had taken hold of the house. Armed with the knowledge gleaned from the grimoire, they embarked on a perilous journey toward the heart of the darkness, ready to battle the malevolent entity that threatened to consume them all. Their fates intertwined with the spirits trapped within the haunted house, their destinies hanging in the balance as they stepped into the unknown, prepared to face the ultimate terror. As the teenagers ventured deeper into the heart of the haunted house, they could feel the malevolent presence growing stronger, its suffocating darkness closing in around them. They walked through twisted corridors and rooms, distorted by the entity's sinister influence, each step fraught with trepidation. Their determination pushed them forward, despite the paralyzing fear that threatened to consume them. They clutched the grimoire tightly, its pages offering both guidance and warnings. Their hearts beat in unison, their collective energy intertwining as a shield against the malevolence that sought to tear them apart. Finally, they reached a chamber resonating with an ominous energy. The air crackled with anticipation, and a foreboding silence settled upon them as they entered, their breaths held in anticipation of what lay ahead. Within the chamber stood the embodiment of darkness, a towering figure wreathed in shadows, its eyes burning with a malevolent gleam. The entity emanated an aura of pure malevolence, its form constantly shifting and contorting, as if defying comprehension. In the face of this ultimate terror, the teenagers mustered their courage. They chanted ancient incantations from the grimoire, weaving their voices together in a symphony of hope against the darkness. The chamber quivered, and the entity recoiled, momentarily weakened by the strength of their unity. Undeterred, they pressed forward, wielding talismans they had gathered along their journey. The talismans radiated with the energy of protection and redemption, forming a barrier against the entity's destructive power. Battles between light and darkness ensued, a clash of wills and supernatural forces. The teenagers fought with every ounce of strength they possessed, their belief in their cause serving as a beacon in the blackness. With each blow struck against the entity, its form weakened, flickering like a dying flame. The chamber filled with desperate cries and frenzied movements as they waged their final stand. The fate of not only their own lives, but the trapped spirits and the very soul of the house hung in the balance. In a climactic moment, a surge of energy erupted from the teenagers' combined efforts. A blinding light filled the chamber, illuminating the darkest corners of the house. The entity let out a deafening shriek, its form disintegrating into tendrils of shadow that dissipated into nothingness. Silence settled over the chamber, broken only by the gasps of the teenagers as they realized they had triumphed over the malevolent entity. The haunted house trembled, releasing a collective sigh as the weight of the darkness lifted, its grip on the spirits finally loosened. With a newfound sense of relief, the trapped spirits manifested before the teenagers. Their ghostly forms radiated with gratitude and peace, finally free from the shackles that had bound them for so long. They whispered words of gratitude, their ethereal voices carrying a sense of serenity. The teenagers understood that their mission had been fulfilled. The spirits had found solace, and the house could now begin to heal from its tormented past. The journey had been arduous, and scars both seen and unseen adorned their souls, but they had emerged as victors against the forces of darkness. Together, they made their way out of the haunted house, stepping into the sunlight with a renewed appreciation for life and the power of unity. They left the house behind, its once haunted halls now infused with a glimmer of hope and the echoes of their bravery. As they walked away, the old house stood as a testament to their courage, a reminder that even the darkest places can be reclaimed by light. And though they carried the memories of their harrowing encounter, they also carried the knowledge that they had vanquished evil, bringing peace to both the living and the dead.